Alex Answer here, June 21st, 2015. I'll try not to be too long-winded with this one because I want to hit on a lot of different points. A lot of people are calling World War III this year, around the time of September, October 2015. I don't believe that that's the particular time that it's all going to begin. We're already in a situation where the wheels are already in motion. But when, say, a situation could potentially occur, like a counterattack against the United States, or, heaven forbid, occupation of American soil, I still believe that we're several years away from that particular event, that other events will come to pass domestically within the United States. But I don't have a crystal ball. I cannot guarantee you that major things are not planned for this September and October in coordination with Jade Helm 15. What I will tell you is that even though the Earth's magnetic field is weakening, and as we move further and further into the future in the next solar cycle, we're at greater risk of experiencing the king of all solar flares, disrupting the Earth's power grid. The YouTube videos that are being suggested to you about Planet X, the other videos that are being suggested to you, oh, watch this, oh, it's all going down, NASA's admitting an asteroid strike. Look, just because the threat exists, and we have an Earth's weakening magnetic field where more and more things periodically at some point in the future could get through, doesn't make that particular video or article legitimate. And I'm making note of YouTube suggesting these videos. Hey, look over here. The algorithm wants you looking at disinformation. But in terms of geopolitics, this is the biggest thing that we are looking at, that we are moving to, as we see these global drills around the world, and Russia doing their own drill involving 12,000 soldiers, where they are, 59% of the people in Russia believe America has the intention of invading Russia. So they do a major drill, a defense drill. Meanwhile, the United States and NATO are literally on Russia's borders. For years, what have I said? America's been used to destroy America. America will become incrementally more aggressive in a suicidal mission and will partake in actions that will lead eventually to American soil being occupied by foreign troops, primarily Russia and China, after some sort of counterattack. But that whatever is going on with this whole big picture is being done with the cooperation of whatever controls the U.S. government. This is so important to understand the basic reality of the Hegelian dialectic, the overshadowing of this problem, reaction, solution. More people should be aware of this, how much of this is being orchestrated and allowed from within. Going to my next topic. So, this video project that I'm going to be working on deals with that particular theme. Deals with exposing the Hegelian dialectic to stage World War III. So what do we do about it if we're all concerned about these things? For me, you know what I'm more concerned about? This is also what I want to get off my chest. These things happening before I get a chance to really warn the world about it. When I say the world, I'm talking about something translated into Chinese, something translated into Farsi, something translated into Russian. I'm giving specific languages that I know need to hear and absorb this information. Farsi, the Iranian people of Iran. You know, the leader there has also called for a new world order, this Ahmadinejad. And the whole direction that Iran has been on for some time has been controlled from the top. You know, and it's all going to be playing out here soon, along with Kim Jong-un of North Korea. The United States divided the Koreans. And we have North Korea set up, and for years, being given technology and weapons and other things by the Chinese and the Russians, and, by the way, a corporation that at one point Donald Rumsfeld was the chairman of. He was a chairman of a corporation that helped North Korea get their light water nuclear reactors. So for me, it's like, okay, we've accrued this knowledge, information. It's out there. It's out there now, still, at the moment that I speak to you now. I do not think this is going to be the case in the future, either in video or article format, for the same documentation to exist on the internet as we know it in this moment of time, that shows the evidence that these bastards work together. Meanwhile, you have seen people try to steer all the focus on the United States and Europe, on just the Bilderberg Group, on just Bohemian Grove, on just, and it almost becomes this weird conspiracy pop culture that goes nowhere but a dead end. It almost comes across as propaganda down the line once you start educating yourself that there is a global New World Order mafia that far supersedes the United States. And so people that know better, that are propping up this East versus West paradigm, it's incredibly suspect. And brings into question other information also been shared. I've been looking at this stuff for a couple of years now and taking notes of things that have alarmed me, things I've seen in the alternative media, propaganda I've seen come out in the mainstream media on cue around the same time period that, in a way, I felt in my heart would happen on a timeline. Not to come out and throw out some prophecy, but it does. But whether the word is alarm, unnerve, a pinch yourself moment, but well over 4 years, thinking in my mind's eye about the 2016 time period, which we're moving into, being a time period where we would move into the Republican Guard. It would be Republican candidate, one after another calling for war with China. Pinch myself moment, Chris Christie doing this just recently. Pinch myself moment, Donald Trump talked shit in the past. Now he's back in the ring. Oh, dear Lord. We're going to see some stuff move into motion. Not the war of all wars beginning, but some event in this September-October period that will just continue us forward with the Republican nominees and some of the Democrats. And it's like they're all going to be given their pitch as to which one will have the best strategy of going to war with China and or Russia. Of course, notice with the China and Russia situation, oh dear Lord, there are separate things taking place at once. That all of a sudden there are issues all at once. Oh my God, we got the South China Sea, over here. You got Ukraine over here, you know, red alert. You've got North Korea. I'm not even going to go there. And then the periodic, you know, ejaculations into the sea. I mean, these periodic missile fires into the sea. Oh my God, Korean Peninsula, anything could go on, any moment. Oh my God, North Korea. And it's just like this controlled wild card. And then you've got, oh, ISIS. Oh yes, they're marching like the G.I. Joe Cobra Kai is heading ISIS. Marching through villages and marching through, yep, the next place he's going to go for the Vatican. ISIS takes the Vatican in sweeping move with victory for ISIS. Flawless victory. Like some weird video game scene, something out of Mortal Kombat. Well, it's getting comic bookish. You know, it's getting to these bizarre levels. Oh, another ISIS video jumping through hoops. And then boom, like a bomb going off. All these stories about Americans joining ISIS. And then ISIS itself hijacking certain Islamic names that go back thousands of years, that have no connection to the U.S. government, that have no connection to ISIS, which is a creation of the U.S. government. ISIS going around hijacking names that go back thousands of years. And then all of a sudden, these groups are emerging all over the world with Western money, hiding behind these names that they have actually nothing to do with, these ISIS groups. And that in of itself is another subject. That hits pretty close to home, as I've shared in other videos in the past. Big stuff. Mass shootings, all these things correlating with this solar cycle that we're in. All these years I've talked about false flags and solar cycles, solar flares, wars starting in and around the period of solar flares, and, you know, providing the science in some of the videos that has been done on how we might be potentially affected by it. Magnetite in the brain, scientific discovery. When we have geomagnetic storms, things are moving. Logic, common sense, knowing how magnetite shifts when the poles shift and other things shift. Obviously, there's going to be shifts literally in our brain. When there are solar flares and there are geomagnetic storms and you got the zzz, of course there's going to be something going on in the brain. So we see people freaking out sometimes, catastrophophobia. We see people moving. We see more drug use. There's a lot of energy coming upon the planet as human beings, living different lifestyles, living in different parts of the planet with different things going on, with different things around us, we're going to be responding to those changes in different ways. Some people are going to be creating things and using that energy for something positive. Again, some people are going to be in oblivion. Or they will be suicidal, or the borderline, the sister, brother, twin to that is to be homicidal, and that is to join the armies of death and be duped into war after a false flag event. Where the men are already got their hormonal system beating just a little bit faster, if you will, and I'm speaking metaphorically, that primal aspect of man, that secretion of testosterone that is within us. Being a man and being perceptive of certain feelings and honing in, I understand how I'm affected when there's a solar flare. That's how I learned about these things, by going within my own body, then becoming aware of big events, then becoming aware of events that are staged at certain times, and then seeing the pattern. I'm not making this up or hallucinating this. They stage events during solar flares and during solar maximums, and this has been going on for a long, long time. The knowledge base of this in the research community is still in the toilet. So, my main anxiety that I deal with each and every day is one that deals with not working hard enough to get the message out on an international level in multiple languages, either about the solar cycles or that there's actual quantifiable data of a Hegelian dialectic problem reaction solution, that there is a behind the scenes, if you will, agreement to stage a World War III scenario or event when you have corporations that are arming the world, when you have IBM that is setting China up and its computers, when you have China getting the rare earth mineral contracts in the Middle East, when they're getting the contracts for the oil pipelines, when they're in Africa and their UN peacekeeping troops are already acting like they're the good guy. UN peacekeeping troops, they don't have the best reputation. They've got another sex scandal in the news, raping women in Africa, Liberia, Haiti, other countries. The stories of rape still continue with the UN peacekeeping troops, and China is going to be playing a greater role in peacekeeping troops. You know, what I never promote is xenophobia or racism on this channel, and I'm not doing that now with the Chinese or towards Chinese people. It doesn't matter what army it is. What I understand is that any group of people, Afghani, white, black, Hispanic, Chinese, Japanese, Russian, any European country, any Latin American country, any South American country, anyone in, vast amounts of the people in Canada. You have all these people, not to mention Australia. How could we forget our Australian brothers and sisters? Each group has shown themselves, by and large, their majority, to worship the tip top of the pyramid, to hold up the system on the shoulders of the men and women, the majority of that particular system. Doesn't matter what time it is, what era, we have these armies of death that amass, made up at one point of children. They used to have mothers and fathers that loved them. Now they're fighting in some sort of a stage managed war that they don't even understand, in a world that's controlled in ways that they'll never understand until they pass over beyond this world. And there is this other hidden hand of slavery that for thousands of years has set mankind against mankind to bloody battle at the top of a hill, to invade a village and turn one group against another. Of course, there's going to be genuine strife between people and villagers. But now we're at a system of instantaneous technology, but also mutual assured destruction, where the weapons that are pointed at other countries that the United States possesses, advanced forms of, or close to that level, are pointed right back at us. And in some cases, in greater and greater numbers. You're living now in the twilight zone where nothing makes sense because it's not meant to make sense. In a world where you read about troops being pulled out of the United States or away from their families and sent overseas, meanwhile, policies are made that are absolutely self-destructive, that are all about mutual assured destruction. So for those people out there that have talked about the potential of the New World Order that they perceive to be only Western-based or Anglo-Saxon or white, European. You know, there may be people controlling the strings from places like that, but you have a global coalition right now that is already firmly intact, sharing similar weapons technologies, mutual assured destruction. Those missiles, that technology, those drones, those robots, one country makes it, all the countries end up having it. You have like a few companies to other connected companies that have armed the whole world to the teeth with the same technology. This knowledge alone is powerful. Now, can you imagine a documentary film that covers the shared weapons technology program by itself? Can you picture that? Is there one now that's in Chinese that you can link me to? Is there one now in Russian? Second question, how can any of us say that that could not make an effect to educate a Russian or a Chinese? Wouldn't we want to help the world understand what we've accrued? Because some of us have been blessed with the gift of information, even though we're in this nightmarish police state that some people exaggerate to be more than what it actually is. Some people don't count their blessings enough that they aren't in Afghanistan or Iraq living a real martial law experience. We have power in the information, and we have more access to information than others. And in a way, we can be a conscious biological computer by using our minds to organize this information, make documentary films, make websites. Check out my new website, WorldWar0, the number 0.com, another new announcement, where we archive history, where we archive what happened here. And we back up our information as we archive, because we may have to look at this information later on if the net goes black. As some of them say, do you feel me? Or as some say, can I get an amen? We need people launching websites. Recordthenet.com. I don't know if that's a website. Maybe some of you should check. I'm not interested in organizing a big organization. I'm an independent person living an independent life here in Southern Colorado. But the ideas that I have right now are explosive. And only in a crazy day and age as this would someone try to take that out of context. The explosive ideas I refer to is what we can do at the time that we already have at our fingertips, and we should realize that and the information as a gift, and the technology that exists today that people that came before us did not have. A laptop computer. We have the magic all around us. This thing you're looking at me on right now, it's not for consumption. You should not be spending your time of fear of what's going down this October. You should be working, or whenever, with others if you're possible, either overtly or covertly. How you do it is up to you, but help is needed. And help is far beyond financial or anything fiat. It's sharing videos. It's sharing the information. It's making your own music and contributing to that. It's contributing information. It's contributing reporting. It's contributing website construction. It's contributing knowledge. That knowledge could relate to off the grid. Someone contributed knowledge to me the other day. He suggested that I add wood chips to my quinoa garden, which is now 3 months in its maturity. I'm growing quinoa here in Southern Colorado, and quinoa is a superfood. It's going to continue to get more and more expensive. At most of the stores right now, it's $8 to $10 a pound. If you go to Whole Foods, we won't even go there. Whole paycheck is a whole nother dimension of reality. But you can sometimes get quinoa as low as $4 to $5 a pound. The supply is not high in the United States at all. It's coming out of Peru and Bolivia, but it has been proven to grow in the San Luis Valley of South Central Colorado. You don't have to take my advice and do what I say. That's not what I'm saying. But what I'm trying to give examples of is there are small solutions around us in our environment that can help us live more self-sufficiently. And in this case, quinoa, knowing that it grows, it's been proven to grow an hour and a half from here in Mosca, Colorado. WhiteMountainFarms.com is a website. Out of my own desire to know and be a part of my own solution, and that also includes staying connected with nature, I plant out some seeds and I just spread it around, move the rake around, and boom! Now We've got almost a foot. I can't even count how many plants, or I can't even recall how many, but maybe close to 100. I'll show you more videos later. The point is, we have the ability to share information. And someone shared information with me that, you know what, that garden needs a cover. You know, instead of taking offense to it, what do you mean that garden needs a cover? My garden's just fine. Look how well it's growing. No, no, no. Your garden needs a cover. You mulch. You put mulch on the soil, you water the garden maintains that moisture. And when you're in areas that are stricken by drought, not a lot of rain, where that water is that much more valuable, mulch is really, really important for your survival garden, as well as attempting that survival garden. You know, and getting outside the mindset, you have to have some sort of a green thumb or something like that. It's really about setting the soil up, sprouting the seeds, creating the proper climate for it, or planting it when it's the right climate or environment for growth. And one of the things that I've noticed, to tie this back into with our main topic, is that there's a synchronicity of different things that happen with the sprouting. With the sprouting of the seeds, there's the sprouting of the ideas. I'm starting a few new websites. It's, again, the solar maximum period, time of birth and change. A lot of things ending, a lot of things beginning. So there's the beginning, moving somewhere, you know, and I'm trying to channel my focus and energies towards creating something new. And that's this video project that will hopefully help activate that light bulb above many people's heads around the planet, not just Chinese, Russian, Americans, and Persians, those in the Middle East, but perhaps many others as well. And I feel that these are the most important things, using this as an example, but there may be an example for you. These are the important things that I think are worth pursuing: sharing information, educating others about the Hegelian dialectic, growing food, getting out of a dense population center if you're actually concerned about some of these things taking place, being a part of the sharing of information, being a part of the refining of information, of the archiving of information before it's deleted, doing things for yourself, in addition to maybe relocating. Health. Health is very, very important. Getting away from drinking soda. If you're still one of those conspiracy researchers that sees nothing wrong with drinking Coca-Cola, either diet or regular, all day long out of a 2-liter while the sun is hitting and melting that plastic bottle as you swig potentially that warm Coca-Cola in between big, giant bites of a Big Mac or perhaps some Taco Bell material. I'm not perfect. I've eaten at my fair share of Wendy's and places as recently as this last year, with the exception of McDonald's and Burger King. I try to stay away from Taco Bell, but I would just go to a Mexican fast food place. Oh yeah, that's how I would tell myself it's different. It's much harder when you're living in your vehicle, as I did for a year, when you're in an area where things are not good economically and when people are not very friendly. And since I've been regrounded in Colorado, I've been eating more quinoa, eating more fruit in the morning, trying to drink organic coffee when I drink coffee, trying to not drink coffee sometimes, going through some green superfood, going up until noon sometimes and not eating. Sometimes I find that okay. Some days I really need to eat, and the issue that I have is just not eating early enough. So, I may not have the energy that I need to get through the day. Adjusting to this new climate has been an ongoing process. So when I exercise or shadow box or run or do a sprint or do a couple other body movements, when I breathe the air, it feels so much more powerful. The body feels so much more powerful. Body, mind, and spirit, just a whole alignment. Just things feel explosive in my body right now. Just explosive, unstoppable. And so with this energy, instead of being unmindful with it, and some people have a lot of energy and strength, especially young men today, and they're feeling big and powerful, and they go out and they start a freaking fight in the street because they don't know how to channel that raw power, that masculine, towards something. So, I need to move my body. So I will spend some time shadowboxing explosively. Don't need to brag or film stuff that I've been training in since the age of 13 or 14 or even talk about it much. But I find a way to let my body just explode and let that raw power out in a natural way that hurts nobody, not myself or anyone else. And so I found ways in my life to cope when we have these periods of explosive energy coming into the planet. Other things, meditation, grounding, coming into a really calm, peaceful space. For the first time in my life, having a garden because I'm somewhere stable. I've moved so much in my life that, I've never really been around a garden long enough. That's been a big, powering, grounding experience. Also, some people go to saunas and they sweat. Another version of that is to actually do a real sweat with or without a Native American. Some people think you need to actually be taken through a ceremony. You can also create your own ceremony where you sacrifice the pleasures of being at a somewhat comfortable temperature and you just go into a ceremony where you sweat it out. Well, another version of that isn't so much the sweat lodge, but to take your shirt off and just let that hot sun beam down into your body, purging yourself of impurities and old energy, weakness, while visualizing strength, power, knowledge, and all these other things. What I want to also mention in conjunction with this is these are the times to think about those things, to do those things, to do physical things, and to work on your spiritual side and your energy body, and to grow food. I think that when we have solar maximums like we're in right now, even though lately solar activity has been pretty quiet, we're still in the solar cycle. And we're more affected by the solar flares because of the weakening magnetic field. So even those periodic solar flares, I talk about this drip down effect, like a drip drip, that drip down effect of the energy, it's still there. You don't need a constant barrage of solar flares to make a connection. So I have, over time, started to align, at least a couple years ago, the things that are the mindful, that I feel are the mindful things to be doing during these periods of time, and it's creating, and it's releasing that energy, and releasing it in a mindful way. It's good to know one's body. It's good to know that the body is wired to kind of want to do certain things on autopilot. Some of those things aren't the most conscious. Some of those things lead people into really ungrounded experiences or dangerous experiences just because they have a flood of energy or sexuality or rage in their body. There's a mindful way and there's an unmindful way to express those feelings that may be purging out of your body. A lot of humans don't understand their own body's senses, how to, I don't want to say control them, but not let them be controlled by those senses or be controlled by those emotions. So they may not know about grounding or breathing or how martial arts isn't really about violence and hurting someone. How when you actually start striking and moving and stepping into something, like you're releasing like a barrage of energy all around you. And the very movement of your hands and the circular motion as you, and some of the stuff is difficult to describe, but when you actually partake in it, or in other exercises, maybe you're a runner, maybe you ski, it's a different experience than the sedentary experience, or someone just sitting there playing video games. People should remember that we are physical creatures. We're not machines. So, being constantly in front of a computer that's emanating a certain frequency. Hey, how many people are also smoking pot while they're looking at some of the stuff? Nothing wrong with that. I smoke. But be aware, you open up your energy centers when you smoke pot. So when people are looking at fearful things or listening to people that are hypnotizing voices, in the alternative media, they're giving you what you should believe. They're being hypnotized. I never really came out and just said it. But having gone through, I guess, my own growing process and knowing a lot of people that are stuck in some of these hypnotic forms of mind control, where they're stuck in a fear trance, and they literally are in paralysis. And they don't believe in going off grid. They don't believe in going and traveling. They're afraid of certain states. They're afraid of certain places. They stay in their little city. They keep about their business. They keep going to that website. They keep expecting him to do everything for them. They never go and do the real rite of passage like a man and live out in the wild, or at least go a few days out camping. You have a lot of neutered, domesticated so-called awake people right now that are just almost addicted like crack to the next adrenaline news cycle. And every 2 years, it's always September, October. From 2007 to 2009, 2011, are you with me now? Common Elening, then there's late 2013, the Russians were supposed to invade then. 15,000 troops never happened. The website still went viral. People were freaked out. They still did nothing, though, as they typed away from their dense population center apartments, things they'll never own themselves. But hey, are we waking up now in late 2015 that there's an aspect of conspiracy awareness that's all just trash shit defecation? That's just made by people that themselves don't seem to know the full picture or are holding back from their understanding that there's a Hegelian dialectic behind the staging of World War III. So if they're not going to discuss that aspect or act like there is no problem reaction solution and, maybe Putin's a good guy or, maybe these people in the East are just on the defensive and, oh, it's just all about the West. Well, if you continue to lie to yourself, you're just going to keep hurting yourself. If you keep listening to the people and keep telling you that, it's all a matter of your country taking the fall and getting down in the fellatio position. So, the solution relies in being self-sufficient. Take my advice. Think about what food, if you're actually concerned about some of these things happening real soon, that you might want to have on hand. What places you might want to bug out to ahead of time. And I don't think these things are going to happen necessarily as far as American occupation for a couple of years until the post-2020s. That's the feeling that I'm getting for different reasons, and that's what I put out there for the last couple of years, is that time frame. So these are the times to think about where in your terrain would you might want to be outside of a city where it's like an hour in and an hour out just to go to work. And have you actually lived off stored food before? Having done it several times, I'm a little more familiar with what Alex Ansary needs as far as his nutritional requirements. I've lived a long emergency, and in some ways, I still am. Money saved up and money that came to me has gone to a place that I'm renting or helping rent, and it's an investment right now in my own. Okay, this is my current base of operations, having just moved 1,200 miles, and now thinking about what is my off-the-grid plan in this particular region of the earth. And it's like, we need to start thinking about these things. I need to start thinking about these things. Some of you need to start thinking about these things. Next to, again, what would you order in bulk as far as your base staples? Things like wheat, brown rice, steel-cut oats, quinoa, mung beans, black beans, a grain mill, and having been making, since I have an oven here, pizza several nights a week, I'm getting a lot better at mixing the water and the yeast and the flour and the sugar and the salt and the garlic powder and the onion powder and making that pizza dough, which really isn't all that different from Indian naan. So there's this whole art of making bread. There's so many things I could talk about in this video. We have to get back to the basics on a basic fundamental level. And it's easier to be self-sufficient in some ways than what some people think that are currently under mind control, thinking that if they bake their own bread, that a drone team is going to swat them and inject them with the Bill Gates virus. Now, just because the Bill Gates virus exists, and just because the drones with tasers exist, doesn't mean that if you go out and harvest your own rainwater and store your own food and start living more and more incrementally off the grid, they're going to come gunning for you. Yeah, you don't want to mess with those Hulk Hogan 24-inch pythons, do you? Well, they've got people literally defecating like, oh my God, off the grid, going to get the law. And then like these articles start coming out, the dangers of solar power, blah, blah, blah. They're talking about like industrial solar power for like, I don't know what, running like an hydraulic lift. Who the hell needs 100 solar panels? Only an industrialist who's trying to get massive amounts of power for some sort of manufacturing. And I'm not saying industrialist in a negative sense. In a small scale, off-the-grid sense, there is no major risk with solar panels and having a few car batteries. Things are getting really advanced now with that particular technology. But you don't really need the hyper-advanced stuff. to have enough juice to run a laptop. And with a few batteries and the right inverter, you can run a washer dryer. But the reality is, when you've got sunshine and you've got water, you don't really need a washer dryer. And that's the next thing that I'm going to be learning and adapting, is washing my clothes in the bathtub, since there is one to use, and then using the sunlight to actually dry them. I mentioned quinoa earlier. The quinoa leaves are going to be perfect for eating, for making a little salad. So that's going to be another aspect of food that's already coming up from the garden. And so it's like a number of different things together, learning new techniques, adding the straw mulch, discovering a new water source nearby that is not on private residential land or anything like that, nor does it come from a business, but it is a water source. And so it's like I've put out my intentions to incrementally be more and more off-grid. And I've had these waves where I've gone in and out of the city, but I've accrued a lot more knowledge. And I've been sharing this knowledge with others. And I've shared knowledge with other people that I've never heard anybody share with me. No one's ever come up to me and said, Alex, do you know how easy it is to store your own water and have like your own pump systems that don't require power? So if there's a power outage, like it doesn't matter. You have lots of water as long as you have the water stored somewhere in a good container, maybe underground, that you can get some of these pumps for like $15 on the internet or $10. You just have to know what you're looking for and have like the right equipment fit with the right equipment, which is why you get certain types of barrels when you can afford it. I'm shopping now for a 55-gallon barrel. The environment that I'm in already has a rainwater runoff system that's just pouring down into nowhere, into the ground after it rains, never to be seen from again. I'm going up to the Springs in a few days. I'm not a rich man. I don't have a lot of money. It doesn't matter. I'm invested in something that people with money are probably living so comfortably, they're not even thinking of getting in a million years. And I'm looking to buy for $50, $60, $70, $80 a 55-gallon barrel and get a system, because that water is valuable and those barrels are valuable. I've prepped and stocked up on stuff, by the way, and have had to leave things behind. It's become common practice for me to build up the food supply and build up the water catchment containers and the water storage containers. Now I have 2 BPA-free 7-gallon containers with 2 places to put your arms on it to actually pour the water. You know, make you feel like a real man pouring. That's about 56, 60 pounds there. I'm not sure the exact calculations, between 50 and 65 pounds. You can put 2 of them on the back, use some sort of a metal pole, and carry those 2 if you're real strong in the legs. The fact of the matter is, people should be using those periods of time when the lights go out. Portland's been seeing more blackouts. I reported more blackouts in Portland before I left. Those times when the power goes out, to go, hey, do we need matches? Do we need candles? Because if you have food and a way to cook your own food, and if you have a way to illuminate the room around you, and if you have a way to dispose of your own excrement, and to be a mature adult and not have some sort of panic attack because you don't know where to put your poop. No, your poop doesn't go in the toilet anymore. Sorry. Your poop goes in the ground where it's supposed to go. Here, we're going to dig a hole, and this is going to be the makeshift outhouse. A couple days, people get used to it. This is the process. Here's the sawdust. Here's how it decomposes, and maybe after a period of time, you move it. And it's all natural. I know a lot of people aren't able to deal with that, but there's aspects, even though there's a lot of things that we eat that are not natural, what comes out of us is, and it needs to be disposed of properly in the right spot. And it will deal with what it needs to deal with in time. But most people don't have this information. They're going to be running around, opening up their fridge, not realizing the power goes out, keep your fridge shut for a period of time. They're not going to realize, like, no, dummy, don't flush the toilet. So they're not going to realize, yeah, if you just stocked up on enough flour and pizza sauce and other things of that nature, that $23 pizza is really being made for like $3 or $4. Maybe even less than that. For years, people have been talking about prepping, whether it be for a major disaster, earthquake, or for a war situation, or for an invasion, or for a major solar flare. And it really doesn't matter what it is, what the threat is, perceived threat is. Governments have gained full control over people through a domestication process through one particular method, and that is the delivery of water to neighborhoods and residents. Not only that, but Wi-Fi, other utilities, power, I mean, all those things, all those major dots. And by the way, in the past, not having internet kind of complicated some things for me. As far as giving you regular video reports, I'm going to use this time and space that I have now to do a lot on video and talk about a lot of things. But next year, if I attempt to go off grid, I'm probably going to be coming to you less on the internet, because more of my focus is probably going to go towards building a home out of sandbags, underground, developing something that I'm going to be living in, and later coming to you from an off-the-grid location to set a good example. I can't think of that many people that are actually sharing any information about the New World Order that are doing it from a, and I'm doing that from a position of genuine concern with what is going on in human consciousness today. Not from an ego, oh, look at me, I'm such a cocky SOB. No, no, no. If people are genuinely believing these things are coming, why are people not networking with others to live in colonies of freedom? Why are they choosing to stay in these future robotic cities, which are currently hipster zombie apocalypses, which are currently cesspools of sociopaths and narcissists? Some people like the pleasures of the city, and they don't want to admit it. And they like the pleasures of the things that come with living the grid. A lot of women do, and that's not to bash women. But there's ways that the system has baited people in through, here, let's give you a cell phone. But we're not going to tell you how much it's going to be tracking you and what you're listening to, and perhaps other things going on. Not to go into a deep rabbit hole in this video and scare anyone, but foreign governments are, I'm sure, doing some surveillance of certain Americans. I'm sure certain things are planned in a post-American occupation that deal with human trafficking, okay, to cut to the chase. So they bait people in their little playground world. Here's a smartphone. Now you're powerful. You're powerful now. You've got the whole world in your hands. You've got the whole world. I'll pretend this is a cell phone. In your hands. Who are you going to date? What you going to do? What you going to buy? Who needs friends? You got Facebook. Like. And so they've got this thing set up. Oh, post what you want. Hey, show that ass. Holla. 5,555 likes. Booty call. And all this other madness that's just infected social media. Squirrel. And don't forget about the preteen twerk dance on YouTube. You know, you look at the #1 thing that young girls are uploading these days. It isn't my concerns for the future of America. I'll get your booty on. Gonna shake it for that dollar, y'all. And like, this light bulb's still not happening with America. That America's been kind of baited into a cage. Like they're throwing the dog a bone in a cage. And the human is the one being domesticated. Go in the cage. Here's your cell phone. Ignore the cell phone towers. Ignore the grid. Ignore what's in the food. Here's some food stamps to buy that crap food from Kraft. Here's some extra cash benefits. Go to McDonald's. Support Walmart. Meanwhile, Walmart, DHS, Walmart in China, kind of strange bedfellows. But this dog training, and honestly, you know, there's a cat that was spayed recently that's lived in the house that I'm living in. Part of the cat domesticated process, even though it works out for humans because humans get the affection, is spaying a cat because something changes in their consciousness after a part of them is gone. And it works out for the humans because, you know, it works out for the humans. But that wildlike aspect of the cat is no more. Well, humans, we're the same. And we don't necessarily have to have our balls and vaginas chopped off to be domesticated. So let's close pretty soon. They've kept things real easy for some of us. The fiat currency system. These little toys and gadgets. Oh, hey, let's bring water to you. Hey, don't store your own food. There'll be food next week in the supermarket. Oh, no, it's just more Cold War rhetoric. You don't have to worry about anything. Everything's going to be fine. Oh, they make it easy for you. Here's Russia Today. Oh, you can trust that network. They're reporting things the mainstream media will never report. And now, the kind of crap coming out of RT is getting really weird. Promoting all the ISIS propaganda. And blatantly using propaganda to make other world leaders and other economic systems look godlike or heavenly. And of course, promoting the New World Order. The New World Order that people spoke and warned about before 9/11 even happened. Before 9/11 even happened. By decades, people were talking about this global New World Order that encompassed China, Russia, and the United States. Those conspiracy researchers, some of them are not alive anymore, but their books are still around. Anthony Sutton, Gary Allen, many other historical conspiracy researcher analysts that talked about skull and bones infiltrating the world. The British Opium Wars of China. Also something that I want to put in my video report or film. So, there is so much to say. And so much has been said in this video. Relating to the need to be prepared and how easy it can be with very little. Discussing, my own journey that is ongoing, continuing to next year. And having faith in myself, even though I really don't reach that many people on YouTube. And you can see that in the numbers. And this is more of a spiritual thing than anything else. My anxiety, as said earlier in the video, deals not with whether or not I will survive. It deals with whether or not I will help educate enough people that these things are a reality. Before the war actually begins. Because the agenda, my agenda, there's an agenda, all right, and I'll share it with you, is to reach young men before they pick up the gun and join the army of death. And instead, recruit them to our side. Recruit them to our side, to the side of the global truther reporter with a laptop, with a camera, who has the ability to translate languages, English to Chinese, Chinese to English. We need to be communicating. We need to be breaking through the firewall, and we need to stop acting like we can't do it, because there are ways we can network across the seas. There are ways we can prepare. There are ways we can live off-grid and still live. And not be arrested, not be tased up the anus by a drone from the planet Pop-Tart. There are things out there that are real. There are risks out there that are worth taking, but the greatest risk is inaction. The greatest ignorance is to think that China or Russia is the lesser of the two evils and they're not all in on this together. I mean, that is just absurdly naive. That's beyond, and that's why I need to make this video. So instead of getting emotional about it, I can actually show someone, here's 100 articles that you need to read. Go to World War Zero, that's the number 0.com, and educate yourself today. And then go out and educate others. Build up your own case. Pull information from the website once I have it big enough. To show people that are in the military, in every single country, whatever language you may be hearing me, or whatever country you may be listening to me from. I'm not just speaking to people in America. And you show them the articles. And you convert them to the truth. There is a massive conversion process of a non-religious nature that needs to take place. And it's a conversion to the truth. And that is why truth is under attack. And another thing to review before we close, mention this video, archive the necessary information before the internet goes black. That means your YouTube channel. That means videos you've seen on other YouTube channels, other rants you've seen. Maybe there's a video you may want to save of mine. I'll tell you what, I've saved all my own videos, and it feels great. Before I did that, it did not feel great. Really, to heal and help ourselves evolve, the most important point that I can leave you with. We share truthful information about what's going on. Now, I'm putting extra emphasis on the long-term Hegelian dialectic, a world war after the 2020s. And that there is a Hegelian dialectic and there is documented evidence of global corporations arming the world to the teeth for an intended purpose. This is not just weapons they're making only to destroy and bury underground. It's a reminder to those that have talked about a global plan for depopulation, how a World War III scenario of mutual assured destruction does fit into that potential equation. There's a need to admit when one was wrong. A lot of people their whole lives have lived in a paradigm of East versus West, thinking that they were awake to something beyond paradigms. And they never even took the first step to realizing that all these major countries are under control right now. And that there are people amongst you that are lying to your face and saying that is not the case. That these other people later on that may fire missiles at the United States, oh no, it's all in our best interests. They're really humanitarians at heart. Sure, that's how they got to be in the position of alpha male and power over those corrupt governments. That makes as much sense as saying Obama any second now. Any second now. Any second now. Obama is going to pull the white rabbit out of the hat and everything's going to be okay. We're going to have free energy technology. Monsanto is all of a sudden going to be seen as a savior of humanity, as we will all have our bellies full. Everything's going to be fine. We're going to be singing Kumbaya. We'll be smoking new strains of bud, yo. We'll be masturbating with big old heads of hemp. Oh, yes, here's some freedom. Not to get graphic, but I don't think anybody watching this channel is under 30. I'm Alex answering. I had to wrap up these thoughts. If you would like to assist in my documentary film project, here's a number of different things that can help at some point in the next couple months, to next 6 months, to next calendar year. I want to thank my friend Seattle for sending me original music. He has already created 4 original tracks for my documentary film that I'm going to start working on, at least a rough cut. It's not going to be fancy, folks. It's going to be kind of, I don't want to say the zeitgeisty, but it's going to be kind of like music to slide to next bit of information in next video. When rough cut's done, maybe we'll make a nice production and do some translation. If you speak other languages other than English, and you are able to convert English to Spanish, English to Chinese, there's different dialectics. I feel so powerful about this, about translating a documentary film that deals with the Hegelian dialectic or World War III. I feel it could really wake people up and turn people away from joining the future armies of death. If they can only understand the system's global, we can help heal and literally kick off that light bulb above the minds of people that without that may pick up that gun or push that button that can end up killing someone else that did nothing to them. We have tried, some of us, to educate Americans that have picked up weapons and killed people from other countries that did nothing to 9/11. That was stage 1 for some of us. And we have been persecuted in our own country, socially in some ways, for doing so, for speaking out against Bush, for speaking out against Obama, and both their roles in the New World Order. This is now going to the next level. This is the evolution of where the conspiracy really is. The conspiracy is to use America to take down America, and they're going to be building up these world leaders outside the U.S. as these gods, these saviors, and tearing down America and the image of American women and American men to that which is no more than a beast. Now, what do you do with a beast? What do you do with a zombie? What do you do with a hot little zombie and there's no one around, surrounded by 10 dudes in a dark alley? No, what they're planning for America is a bloody rape. And you will be told this by Alex Ansary because it is the truth. They are planning all of this to take place within the borders of America to create such misery. This is an epoch and era of time for heroes to emerge out of the fires that have already begun, that are burning all around us and even within us. There is danger here at home, and the enemy is here at home from within, and the consciousness of the people around us, for the most part, is not in tune with this. Anyone that's involved in the research community that actually wants to make a difference, I'm just giving you my opinion. I don't have a crystal ball. You don't have to believe anything I say. I believe that we have to continue to expose the Hegelian dialectic, steer away from those people that are trying to steer us into their websites and their boxes and their own little Twilight Zone realms of conspiracy, pop culture, entertainment. It's sick. And it actually shows us how deep the spiritual warfare is taking place, where other humans amongst us are talking smack like other countries aren't involved in the New World Order, when damn well their minds work well enough, their cognitive functions allegedly work well enough, their research capabilities are allegedly at a high enough level, where they should know damn well there's no difference between Russia and the United States. If you want to contribute music, production, translation, promotion, web design, writing, if you want to contribute to what I'm trying to do, my email is down below. It'll remain down below. This video will remain up, and I will be back in the future, day after day, or at least week after week, with updates on what I'm seeing with a stage-managed path to World War III. I'm Alex Ansary, signing off from Southern Colorado.